and War Chant's on tonight, so we gotta
Two words. Game week, folks. Even if it is Duquesne, Florida State will be on the field, as Jason reminded me, at 5 o'clock Eastern time on the ACC network for those that will not be attending the big Duquesne matchup against the Dukes. And yes, Jason, NBC 6, yes. The pride and joy of NBC 6, Logan Robinson, Noel Game Day, and of course, big game, James Coleman, Florida State fullback, 02 through 05, all sorts of platforms out there. James, you're going to have to fill us in first before there are too many platforms for me to keep up with James, and we want to make sure that everybody knows where they can find James. So what do you got going that people need to know about this week?
At Big Game James _36. That's basically the big thing. He's got some big announcements on the media front. Hopefully here I'll be able to say tomorrow and then Friday, a big time partnership. But I don't believe nothing to the ink's dry on the contract. So if that happens, it'll be crazy. And then I got a big tailgate in LSU that's going to be held at an adult chicken wing establishment. But it's not kid friendly, but it's definitely friendly and open to everybody, and it should be a good time. So I can't wait. But we can't skip Duquesne first.
And folks, it is, despite the rumors out there, it is not a big media merger between Big Game James and all of his properties, the voice of college football and the Big Ten. It's not that. We'll get to that at some point down the road.
I don't think I can't afford you, Mark. I need Big Ten money to do that.
And the Big Ten's busy signing with a certain network. We won't mention any names. We'll just pointing it out there. Big Ten coming home to the Peacock.
You are such a company guy, Jason. Are you getting dividends from that?
Because it's a pay week. Ask me that same question next week, and I won't have the same answer, but we get paid Friday, so it's good to be a part of the company this week.
And Logan, of course, Noel Game Day. Folks, get on over there
Guys.
to Noel Game Day. Check out all the action they've got there, including when are you guys going live at this point? You're always switching up on me.
When he learns how to unmute him.
Oopsies. 2 hours from now, 8 o'clock. Okay. We'll be live every Wednesday night. So we'll be doing this here, and then we'll do another show at 8 o'clock. So we'll just have all kinds of FSU content for everybody.
Guys, nobody else got the email to dress up. Everyone else is coming.
I was thinking about going and wearing that helmet on here, but that felt a little too.
It's game week,
weirdish,
guys.
A little bit. I wasn't going to wear that helmet. I don't know. That seemed a little off.
It's game week.
It is game week. I'm excited. I don't have any beverage with me, or I would, but it is game week. Right. It's time to start drinking.
Show Duquesne the same respect you show Miami and Syracuse and everyone else. All right, start drinking now.
Exactly.
But here's my question for you, and we're looking at the depth chart. First of all, depth chart came out Monday when Mike Norvell talked to the media. First game week press conference of the 2022 season. Just look at the roster. Obviously, no shock. Surprise, surprise. Jordan Travis is our starting quarterback. Trayshawn Ward, Lawrence Toafili are our starting running backs. Here's my first question for you, Logan and James, if you want to chime in. The first thing that got to me was the wide receiver position. Micah Pittman has one of the starting spots at wide receiver, but then you look at the other two spots. It's Ontario Wilson or Deuce Spann, Malik McClain or Jordan Wilson. Should the optimist in me look at that and say, oh, okay, all these wide receivers are going to get a chance against Duquesne? Or should the pessimist come out and say none of them has bona fide found themselves in the starting lineup at this point?
Go ahead, James.
I think anytime you see the 2 deep in the skill position area, you're looking at that's basically a co-starter at a good program. That's what I would look at it as. Micah Pittman did come in and basically establish himself as a really, really good slot receiver. Probably took the position that Winston Wright was going to have, more like that we were hoping he would do. But I think Deuce Spann has probably played better, especially in fall camp, than expected. I remember in the spring I was saying this kid's going to be a project, but Pokey is probably one of the more consistent wide receivers that they've had the whole time. So that just means you're going to get a rotation in with him, and same thing with Malik McClain and Johnny Wilson. I mean, it's just two similar receivers, but that both give you something different. If we're not rotating these guys in and we're not too deep at those three roster spots, that would actually make me a little bit more afraid. So I'm looking to see big things from those guys in Duquesne to be able to get some good film out there, and then hopefully we'll know more so what we have against LSU after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that wide receiver room, looking at the depth chart, nothing, at least from being at practice, surprises much. I do think Johnny Wilson on Saturday is going to be a starter. I don't think that you can keep him off the field much from what we've seen through all the fall camp we saw in spring. And now my question was, well, how's he going to look in game prep? And he's just doing the same thing he's been doing for months now. So I think Johnny Wilson has definitely been someone that going into that spring, guys, we were never thinking Johnny Wilson was going to come up and take away being a potential wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. That was never the expectation whatsoever from any of us. We thought it was always Winston Wright. And sure enough, he's not healthy right now. So you had to have someone step up, and that ended up being 2 people, Johnny Wilson and Deuce Spann. You couldn't be any happier if you're a Florida State fan right now from what has happened in that wide receiver room. Yes, you've lost Wright, and he's still going through rehab, and you're hoping that you can have him later on in the season. But if you're a Florida State fan and if you wanted a revamped wide receiver room and you wanted the guys to step up, that's been done. Deuce Spann, it wasn't that way in the spring. Took him a little while, and then during this fall camp, he's emerged and broken out. So on Saturday, Akeem Dent told us yesterday, look for this wide receiver room to shock some people. And I think his comment was more surrounding the entire season than obviously just this Saturday against Duquesne. And we'll see. You can see the passing attack throughout camp has been nice with the wide receiver room. But I also don't take too much away from depth charts under Mike Norvell from what I've learned in this 3rd season. He will move guys around no matter what on game days. So I know a lot of people are wondering where a few names are here and there. A lot of guys are going to be playing. Of course, yes, on Saturday, a lot of new guys, but still, whenever Florida State faces LSU, there's going to be a heavy rotation of guys, and there's going to be a lot of newcomers too.
What about on the offensive line? You look at a couple of guys, there's been injuries. Maurice Smith is out. Dylan Gibbons is starting left guard. Robert Scott, left tackle. I like the fact that Julian Armella listed at number 2 at the left tackle spot. Can we expect to see a decent amount of him against Duquesne?
I think you're going to see a decent amount of Julian Armella against Duquesne, and you're going to see a decent amount of him throughout the season, barring any kind of injury to any player there at that tackle position, primarily Robert Scott. If there ever were to be a case where he needs to sub in and come in for a few plays or a game, Armella has done enough to put himself into that second deep rotation. He's came in, he's looked great. He deserves that spot right there. And Kanaya Charlton too, since we're talking about some newcomers coming on that offensive line. Jason, Kanaya has shocked us too. I mean, we've had multiple surprises. We haven't really had enough time to talk about it because we're on week 0. We're already here, but there's been a lot of surprises in this camp. But Kanaya Charlton, he's going to get some playing time this upcoming season. Nobody was expecting that whatsoever. Once we got into spring, we kind of maybe saw signs early on in fall, but he's really stepped up and emerged. But some newcomers to keep an eye out on Saturday, getting some early rotation on that O-line will be Kanaya Charlton and Jordan Armella.
On the defensive side of the ball, just looking at right now, Jared Verse, the transfer in, your guy who you were praising over the season, he's listed as a co-starter with Derek McClendon II. A couple other guys, obviously, the news today, Stephen Dix is out for the season with an injury. A couple other positions interest me. I like Kevin Knowles getting the start at the nickelback spot. Kevin Knowles, the second from down here. Keem Deck getting a starting spot. Jamie Robinson, obviously, getting a starting spot. What are you seeing on the defensive side? What guys do you see? Was there anyone that surprised you listed as the number 1 starter? Any guys that you saw that didn't get listed as a starter that you expect to see a lot of getting a lot of playing time this Saturday?
Mm-hmm. James can probably comment some more on it because we talked about him.
Well, he's going
to get Jacksonville when he gets back on.
Right, he's got to get his Wi-Fi set up.
Yeah, whenever he gets to this next show location, we talked about Jared Verse in Jacksonville a lot, and he actually got to go see one of those scrimmages where he got to see some live action of Verse, and that part I'm usually always jealous. But we talked about Verse and the impact that he'll make this upcoming season. It is interesting to see, he takes that defensive end spot. I'm expecting him to be a starter on Saturday. You got Derek McClendon on the other side. You're going to see a lot of Dennis Briggs. So not much of a shocker there. Pat Payton, too, will get involved. I like that group. And then you lose Steven Dix Jr., who's going to be someone that steps up here. I think they're going to expect quite a bit out of Brendan Gant. Definitely a more undersized linebacker. But if you're talking about a guy with mentality that isn't afraid to come down and hit, and you can utilize him in different packages, maybe how you thought you could use Amari Gainer. It doesn't seem like the staff is they're still trying to figure that out. We'll see if they are able to utilize him in the way that we have always wanted him to be used more in the pressure situations. Brendan Gant and even Omar Graham Jr. I think is going to get some burn this upcoming Saturday. The depth chart doesn't look too crazy off on the defensive side to me. I like Knowles right there. Renardo Green has been a nice, consistent player at that corner position. And you're not shocked at all by the two safeties with Akeem Dent and Jamie there. I do think Shyheim Brown, you're going to see a lot of 38 this upcoming season, a lot. He's one of my up-and-coming risers that you just can't keep off the field. He is the biggest safety on the team. He puts himself in great position. He comes away with interceptions. He comes down for the run. He had a great Norvell isn't a big fan of one-handed grabs, but he had to do that in order to come down with the interception today that Florida State posted on their social media account. Shyheim Brown is someone to be very excited for 2023 and even this upcoming season. You're going to see a lot of the youngsters.
Both Mark and Mr. G14 Classified giving me the pressure with the hot take promos coming up here. But James, along those lines, you got the Wi-Fi set up, mazel tov to that. But
I had to make the switch to iPad so that I can be able to look at my phone, so I could be able to get some information. It takes it to that next level.
We appreciate that you're here with us for the whole hour with Mark Rogers, Voice of College Football. But yeah, the depth chart on the defensive side of the ball, we talked about it a little bit with Jared Verse not being listed as a number one listed in that or position, but obviously he'll get plenty of run this week. But looking at the defensive side of the ball, any surprises that you saw at starter, or any guys maybe listed number two that you expect to see get a lot of run on Saturday?
No. I mean, it's about right where you want it to be. Make the guys earn it. I think AZ as a whatever, the corner from West Florida. I personally think he might have played well enough to be able to start, but there's no reason to just trot him out there, because again, I'll take the same concept actually, but even take it toward the D line. If you're on the two deep, you're going to play. You're expected to make big plays when you're on this level of ball. But when I look at it, Renardo Green, Jamie Robinson, Akeem Dent, Cooper, Knowles, those guys are good. Tatum Bethune, that's why you brought him here. I actually kind of like our two deep. I'm kind of with Logan here. Like the craziest part right now when it comes to Amari Gainer is the defensive scheme that they've got him in. I mean, personally, and I remember joking with Ernie Sims about this with him at the first mega camp. It's just a whole different world when you're inside linebacker. I mean, it sounds good. Guys like to play the video games with the tall, lanky guys, but like when you're going up against H-backs or guys are coming and pulling on you, I mean, I told them, guys like me have leverage on you. When you think about like Ernie was like 6 foot. I mean, they said 6'1", but he might have even been, he's the same height as me. So we're both right at 6 foot if we wear certain tennis shoes. Some days we may be 5'11". It just all depends on what time you measure us and who's doing the measuring. So, but you get leverage. It's just a little bit different. But I like what what little bro Kalen Deloach brings to the table. Very aggressive. Him and Tatum Bethune bring strikers and guys who make definitive movements. So it may not be the right movement, but they're going to make it full speed. But what I think, what's really wild is this. Let me make sure I'm pulling this up because I had this vision. And it's a sexy vision to me. Oh yeah, I was right. So just imagine this in third down situation. You have Derek McClendon on one side. You've got Fabian Lovett at one tackle. You've got Dennis Briggs at your 3. Same size as a Darnell Dockett was back in the day. Mm. And then you put a Jared Verse on the other side in your pass rushing situations. You don't give up that much for the run, but now you got 4 guys that you can go to bring pressure. You mess around, bring a Bethune or a Deloach on a blitz, or you drop them back in coverage, and you're going to be able to you got 4 guys that are pinning their ears back, and that's very difficult. What's crazy is for the first time in quite some time, probably since DeMarcus Walker's senior year, we actually can say we've got guys who can possibly get to the quarterback. And even last year, Jermaine Johnson was a pleasant surprise But I've told people this. When I told people Jermaine Johnson was good, I said this. I don't know if he's good or if our offensive line is that bad. And it turned out that he was good. And our offensive line wasn't great, but it turned out it was more so that he was good. Well, I said the same thing about Jared Verse, except for I like what Jared Verse does more than I did Jermaine Johnson this time last year. And I can speak definitively that our offensive line is way better. So that's not saying he's going to be All-American. So I say he's going to be a first overall pick next year. What that's saying is that means that there's something to be excited about. Outside of the fact that I believe all but maybe 4 to 6 guys on our 2D depth chart are underclassmen. So what's crazy is Florida State could make a run, and then all these guys could come back, and we could still and you add a couple pieces, and you get. That's just my bad. I haven't been this excited about Florida State football in quite some time. We should have won 8 games last year, and this team is way better, and the schedule's easier. There is no Notre Dame on the schedule, so. You still got to play the games, but we'll see what happens. But if Duquesne, I'll tell you this, if Duquesne can match up with what we have right here, the real estate market is pretty good right now in Florida. I would go ahead and sell before everything kind of bottles out and just might get an apartment in College Town or something, because it's going to be a rough sailing for you. But I think this could be year 3. I think year 3 could be the year that he shows people a little bit of something, that he might know what he's doing.
Guys, just remember.
Do us a favor and maybe unplug and come back in. We want everyone to be able to hear you. And it just started rubbing there for the last minute. I don't know what that was, but we just want everybody to be able to hear you. So whatever you need to try to do there. I got a running back question for all of you. Because the position intrigues me, especially when you got a stable of running backs, because it's kind of like wide receiver, but even more so. You can do a lot with these guys. You've got guys that obviously prefer to run inside. You got guys that run outside. You got certain running plays that work better for certain backs. You've got the guys that are better in pass pro. You got the guys that are maybe younger, newer to campus, and they're still figuring out how to pick up a blitz, and they're not built up and strong enough. You got the dudes that are good outlets, and they got good hands, so they're a good safety valve in the flat, but maybe they don't run good pass patterns, so they're good safety valves, but you're not going to design a play for them. You got all sorts of different things going on with running backs. So do you think that they've got a handle on, Norvell's got a handle on how he wants to use these running backs, or if this game's going to be a big decider in terms of who gets how many carries and how these guys are going to be utilized against LSU?
I think he did a smart thing last year, and we talked about it a little bit. I'll give him credit, and you saw Treshaun Ward getting carry. You saw Toa Philly getting carry. You saw Jashaun Corbin getting carry last season. And I don't know if it was just because none of them was a bona fide superstar running back, or he just wanted to give everyone a chance to contribute, if you will. But I think that was a good thing. I think you still have Ward, you still have Toa Philly, and that gives me confidence in the running back position. Just like James talked about, just looking at our depth chart right now. Only 3 of our starters are seniors. We could return 19 of these starters in this game 1 next season if possible. I don't think that will happen, but it could conceivably happen, and especially the running back room where you got Treshaun Ward and Toa Philly, who are both redshirt sophomores. So I like the fact that both of them got a lot of run last year. I'm confident with either one of them at the running back spot.
Mm-hmm. I got to say there's one running back that's emerging in front of our eyes, and that's Lawrence Toa Philly. I've been impressed by him. Mike Norvell named him the most improved last week and told media straight up. And for Norvell to really shout out a player like that and come out and say that to us without anybody really asking, that says a lot to me. And just now keeping an eye on him throughout practice, it goes to show Lawrence Toa Philly is looking really good. I don't know what happened. I don't know what kind of switch was made, but he looked nice in the spring, and we can't go off of what packages they're using him much of now that we're definitely in game week preparations, but he looks really good. And I wasn't expecting that, James. I wasn't expecting that to happen in this fall camp. Yes, we know we kind of got with Treshaun Ward. Trey Benson's still a lot to learn, which is really exciting, which will be fun to watch on Saturday. But for a guy that's been in the system and been a Norvell guy to come in like this and stick with Norvell, and now a young player still that is still learning and finding his groove. You're starting to build a three-headed monster there, and don't sleep out on little Rodney Hill either. He's not little anymore. And you're going to see him on Saturday. So, and these guys are getting a lot of reps. It's hard to go off this depth chart in the wide receiver room and the running back room. There's so much rotation happening and practice that it's kind of like just like how Trayshawn said or Lawrence said. Whoever's in their groove that night or day, they're that's understandable. They trust the offensive play calling and Norvell and David Johnson. They understand whoever's in their groove is going to get the ball that day. But you've got to really we already liked it going into this camp and going into the season. You really like this running back room, but man, Benson looking fully healthy, Toa Philly emerging now. You already know what you got. Treshawn, you got Rodney Hill there. There's a lot to like.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to the person who I think is the greatest running back coach in the history of college football. My position coach, William Sexton, a.k.a. Billy, who's doing pretty good now coming off of a stroke. But we never had one guy. It's just one guy you always remember. I mean, everybody remembers Warwick Dunn, but Rock Preston was just as good and got a lot of totes. Everybody remembers Travis Minor, not the other guy's name, just escaped me. But hell, he went to the NFL too. There's always been two running backs for the majority of, even in the national championship. I mean, you had Devonta Freeman, but you also had James Wilder Jr. and Carlos Williams. Now you had Dalvin Cook, who's just elite, but Leon Washington, Lorenzo Booker. So many different guys that have always ranked. And then what I tell people is this year, from an injury standpoint, reminds me a lot of that 2003 season that I was in, where we got hit with the injury, but Leon Washington dislocated his elbow against North Carolina in the first game of the season. And something that just really to this day makes me mad. Like, you just don't keep replaying the injury over and over again, especially with your mama. Your mama going to watch it and she ain't there. And it looked bad. But and Greg Jones is coming off of his injury. You had Lorenzo kind of get some totes. We had to bring Willie Reed, who was a wide receiver, over to running back, kind of similar to what they're doing now with Burrell. But when I look at what Trayshawn Ward did last year, and we got to remember, Corbin had 900-some yards rushing, and Trayshawn Ward had over 500. So Trayshawn Ward has the best vision. He doesn't have elite speed, though. So, you'll see him break, but you'll see guys run him down, which is not what I necessarily. Jeff Chaney, thank you, Keith. Miami Dolphins went to the Miami Dolphins, if I remember correctly. So, but was nice. Jeff Chaney was nice, but Trayshawn Ward did some things. Trey Benson reminds me not of Greg Jones, but another running back that was at Florida State for a little while, Eric Shelton, who ended up transferring to Louisville. Big back, very explosive, fast guy. And then Toafili is your mix-up guy. I really think Lawrence Toafili would be better suited if he were a slot wide receiver, or if they could figure out how to use him in a Reggie Bush type role, or how some of these running backs are like CTE is bothering me, but running back for the New Orleans Saints right now, name escapes me. Yeah, so I mean, just try to use him like that, switch up, gadget. Same thing they were going to do with Ja'Kai Douglas, but he's hurt right now. So, and then I like Hill. I'm going to admit it, and I don't care if he gets mad at me because that was the past. I like you now. But Rodney Hill, I was just not a big fan off of your highlight film. You were playing up against little people and the Sisters of the Poor in your highlight film. But then when I saw you in the spring, I was like, oh, wow, all of that really translated. It came over here, and you're still doing the same thing. And he's bigger now. He's more explosive. The only person I'm really sad about is CJ Campbell, because he was really doing well and did enough, in my opinion, to be able to earn the scholarship. So much so that he got a kid out of here. A guy who transferred in here had to transfer out because a walk-on beat him. So what that lets me know, though, is that it is competitive. And again, I want fans to realize, why are we worried about not landing 3 and 4-star running backs when you've got a Trey Benson who's a redshirt sophomore? So you've got a running back with his size and his speed for 3 years, and he's been developed in college. I think the new mid-tier 4-star could be higher, but the new mid-tier 4-star is getting the transfer from a P5 school that's got a year or two of college under his belt. Like, you can flip your room faster. He's going to see the field faster. He's used to it. So I think, that's what we're going to see. So I like the running back room, but I like the 1-2 combo of Ward and Benson. I don't think Benson's going to get the 1,000-yard goal, but it's good to have goals. But I think he's going to be dynamic in the home run, especially when defenses are tired in that third quarter.
Shout out to Logan's cat making a return here for the.
We're fully back to football season now. Fully back.
She ignored us for an entire offseason.
She did. Now she's back. I let the door open. It's football season. So.
All right, I'm going to throw out a question to both of you. And Mark, you can jump in on this one as well. I know you're not a Florida State fan, but I'm going to allow you on this one. I think we're all confident that Florida State is going to win this game. I think we all have a confidence that Florida State is going to win this game. And it's nothing against Duquesne. They had a winning record last season. Decent team in their conference. Tell me, back me down off the ledge, why I shouldn't be concerned after what happened last season when we lost to an FCS team for the first time in program history. Because
that's easy.
Guys. No, I get, but
that's extremely easy.
Hear me out, guys, because we were all confident last year and we lost. Go ahead, James.
We have a quarterback with 2 legs.
You might have to do your mic again, James. I don't know what. It's
got that sign language.
We could do sign language, but I don't know sign language. I don't think James does either.
I do, but I can't talk that.
I don't know sign language.
I don't even read lips.
We have a quarterback with 2 legs.
There we go.
That's perfect.
There you go. That's a good start.
So, our quarterback has 2 legs. The same guy who saved us against Jacksonville State the year before. You don't have a guy that's going to try to, not even get a pass interference penalty in with the last play of the game, and probably not going to miss 3 tackles. I think that's really what it comes down to. Because, forget what the defense wasn't able to accomplish in stopping them. Up to that point, you hold a team to 13 points, you should win that game. If you lose a game with your defense holding somebody 13 points, that's not the defense's fault.
Mm-hmm.
You should have never been in that position to end the game in the first place. The game should have been taken care of. If you can't score 35 points against the Sisters of the Poor, then that's just bad. That's just bad coaching, bad effort all around. And I think it was just trying to force an issue coming off of the high of a big-time game on a short week against Notre Dame. Right now, this is it. This is all the focus is on getting this game. So I think they're going to get 110% of Florida State's focus. So I think that's the difference.
Was the Notre Dame game the Monday game?
It was a Sunday game. It was a Sunday game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
We only play on Sundays now, it feels like, because Florida State will play next Sunday again
Right.
on Friday night. And then we'll do another Friday night game.
And then the Jacksonville State game was the second worst thing that ever happened on September 11th. So.
Man. Hey.
Second worst. Calm down.
That is bringing. Hey, that's risking it for a biscuit on YouTube. That's risking it for a biscuit. I think one of the storylines going into this is Darius Washington getting his first start at center. We've seen him play at center before. We didn't touch on it earlier, but Maurice Smith not going to be available. We'll see how that availability looks for the LSU game. But now you have Darius Washington coming in, Jason, and I know you're a big offensive line hater.
Hater.
The hater. What do you think about Darius? Because at least in practice, there's been growth there, and I do think you like the size of him. And he's a guy that you can move around, but you're still. It's the best part about this is that you're not trotting him out against. Well, you could, but your first game isn't going to be LSU. At least you'd have this week to work off of film. Obvious go into play. Communication there on the line, which is not talked about enough. I know, James, you played ball, but communication on that line is huge, and it's going to be a big-time factor for this team this upcoming season. Now you've got Darius Washington making his first start under the lights in Tallahassee on Saturday.
No, I'm much more confident, and I made the joke there. I was saying, tell me why I shouldn't be concerned about Duquesne. I do think Florida State's going to win the game. We'll give our predictions later in the show, but I do think Florida State wins the game easily. I think that I do like Darius Washington 2022 a lot more than what I saw of him last season. I'm confident the offensive line will be slightly better this season. But just looking at what you got right now, Robert Scott starting off at left tackle, Dylan Gibbons at left guard, Darius Washington center, Dimitri Emmanuel looks like he'll probably be the starter at right guard, and then Bless Harris, the transfer in, starting at right tackle. The one out of that group that I'm concerned the most about, Dylan Gibbons dealt with injury issues last season, but I do like his leadership. I think you need to keep him in that line for his leadership. I guess just looking at that right now, I just have to say it. You can call it a South Florida bias if you want to. I can see Julian Armella being the starter against LSU. I think if Julian Armella can outplay Robert Scott in this game, Duquesne or not, I can easily see him starting that LSU game.
Robert Scott is considered is a freshman All-American and considered a first-round pick by some publications in this. I don't know what people have seen, and I'm not picking up Julian Armella. I think he will be good, but Julian Armella has not shown me anything from a live scrimmage or in any practice that shows that he's ready to go up against a LSU, a big-time Power 5 opponent. I think he'll do very well against Duquesne. I think he's doing well in camp. I think we're grossly taking what a coach is saying in positive reinforcement and running with it. Not just you, Jason, but I've read other people's things, and sometimes I guess it's different when you played it and when you watch it and when you know some of the other stuff and you've heard some of the other combos. Good, not ready yet. But I can't say that by the middle of the season, once you start seeing some live bullets, that he wouldn't be prepared. It's just right now, if he's playing against LSU, you can't hide it, but it's not optimal. Definitely not optimal.
James, you know what else is good but not really that great? Logan telling the fans to hit the like button. Logan, it's the last one of the preseason. Get everyone hyped up for 2 words. What were the 2 words, Mark, you started the show with?
Game week.
Well, if you think about this, next time we talk to everybody, we'll be actually recapping a game, and we'll be able to talk Julian Armella and a game and Robert Scott. And make sure you hit the like button. I think we've got over 100 on right now, and that was pretty quick. So make sure you hit that like button. We should be able to get to 100 likes before the end of this. 100 likes gets it out to more FSU fans. And we'll be giving y'all some really good coverage next Wednesday at 6 p.m. But hitting the like button helps a whole ton. But going back to Julian Armella real quick, kind of like James said, he's had a good camp, and I think I'm really high on Julian Armella. They're giving him a lot of opportunities, and that's exactly how it should be because he showed up in shape, looks good, and he's listening very well. The way that you'll see Julian Armella, and I don't think Jason's too crazy. He won't start against LSU, but he's not too crazy off that you'll see a lot more Julian Armella than we expected because I don't know how. I just want to, it's all about health, man. And some guys go down easier than some others. And I wouldn't be shocked to see a lot more Julian Armella this year. And I'd be excited for it, but I would hope that it would be able to be at a point where Florida State doesn't have to see him much this season. But if it needs to be him, then that would be at least you have that depth there. It's finally we get to talk about it. Usually last year we're like, oh my God, who are you going to put there at left tackle? You're like freaking out. You're like, oh crap. But now you're like, okay, I can put a couple guys over there too, and then you can even throw in Justin, who's played at the position before. He's now in guard. A lot you can do now with the offensive line group.
Raymond Bodie, you suck.
Oh yeah, Raymond, you are not wrong about
Discord.
that. And all of we got 3 Discords in here right now.
Oh
Yes.
my God.
Jason, when are you firing up the Discord? When's it coming?
Oh, it's already up.
I'm ignoring all of you now.
No, I mean.
Jason. Yeah.
Jason.
Ignoring all of you.
So, Jason,
Just get it over with.
you had promised me the opportunity to answer your previous question, which had something to do. It's been so long ago, I don't know exactly what it is, but basically something about game 1 and what we want to see out of Florida State.
Should I be concerned?
I would think that there's no way they can lose this game. It's just, so this needs to be 45-10 or whatever the score is going to be. I think way beyond what the score is going to be and being alarmed by if it's a little closer than it's supposed to be are there going to be any positions out there where you come away from this thinking a good team can really exploit that and there's not a whole lot we can do about it? Like, let's say the number 1 corner is great. He's locking everything down, but the second and third corners are getting beat a little bit, and it's like, okay, they shouldn't be getting beat by these receivers, and we got nowhere else to go. Or let's say the two tackles are getting whipped off the edge, and you're like, okay, well, we got nowhere else to go. Some of those more obvious things against an inferior opponent that are going to be maybe tough to fix.
To me, I want to see the linebacker position. That's the position I'm going to be watching the most this week, because I'm confident in our secondary. I'm confident in our defensive line. And, don't get me wrong. Just look at him. I like Kalen DeLoach. I like Tatum Bethune. I like these guys, but I'm not 100% sold on them at this point. And once again, I don't think Duquesne is going to be the miracle difference, but I that's the one position I think I'm looking at the most, that I need to see something in this game.
By the way, Web Security hits the like button, and he doesn't even like Florida State.
That's fine. We've taken money from Miami fans. We've taken their pride. We've taken their football talent. We'll take your likes too.
We're not taking any money from them today. That's for sure.
We'll take their 305 every time.
I think there's been, just to kind of go around this question a little bit, Mark. I think there's been really good competitions that's helped this group to find out who's going to be the one to step up in this. Because, like I said, there's been a lot of rotation. If you look at wide receiver versus corner, it's hard to say anything until we see it in a game. But, it has been extremely competitive to where you hope that the production on Saturday is a lot better. It's the same way with the offensive line and defensive line. There's obviously the weaker side by a pretty large margin, and that's the OL going against Fabian Love and Robert Cooper. And we don't need to sleep on Malcolm Ray, Jared Jackson, and Joshua Farmer. And then you got defensive ends coming off the edge like that. It's helped a ton for Bless Harris. I'll tell you that. It's helped a lot. A ton for Robert Scott, too. Those two absolutely getting great reps against some really fast defensive ends coming off the edge, along with Dennis Briggs and Pat Payton. That's helped a ton. That's where you start finding out, and I think that's where Norvell, them building the depth chart. Yeah, you got to put names out there and get it out to the media, but on Saturday things could be a little bit different, and the competitive nature that we've seen through this fall camp and spring is something way different. And I was only there for practices during game weeks last year. This was our first fall camp to really go in and watch, and we were able to go through the spring, but this has been highly competitive because you've got transfers coming in to take your spot. The wide receiver in Pokey, like James was talking about earlier, he's been probably the most consistent guy in camp, probably him and McLean, maybe, and Johnny now. But, Pokey's been able to hold on to that spot, and, nobody's talking about him enough because we keep on hearing about the transfer names. That's understandable. But Pokey put on some pounds and has worked his tail off to keep a starting spot on this roster. There's just been really good competitive battles on each side, and not only just from one position to another, but really in the old room, talking about that wide receiver room and that DB room, guys coming in, transferring, and newcomers like Azrae Thomas pushing some of the older guys. You like that, and it's exactly what Mike Norvell wanted to build this upcoming season. Bring in some competition with depth and help fine-tune a team to compete on the big stage, which will be eventually next Sunday.
I'm glad James is back, because I want to ask the question to both of you before we get to our picks and before we get to the season finale of the hot take section of our programming here. So obviously this week the Big Ten signed their big, massive billion-dollar deal with Fox, CBS, and the greatest network of all, NBC, to air games starting the 2023 season. The Big Ten also indicated that they were going to find additional programs. Florida State's president, Richard McCullough, said, we're looking, we're expanding. And along those lines, Mike Alford made a comment this week that drew the ire of some, saying that he was rooting for Miami against Texas A&M, and that he wanted to see ACC teams do their best against competition. I may have written a column on Monday that Miami fans could not believe, in which I said Miami fans and Florida State fans should root for each other's team, because the better these teams are, the sexier they look to get the hell out of the ACC. So my comment to both of you, to James and to Logan, first of all, we've talked about it all off season. Do you see Florida State being in the ACC by the 2024 season? Number one. And number two, if it meant leaving the ACC, if it meant we get away from a conference that has shown that it does not care about football at this point, would you root for the Miami Hurricanes this season?
Is this about Alford's comments?
Yes, Mike Alford's comments that said he would root for Miami against Texas A&M. I get where he's coming from. I wrote it that I think both fan bases should want each other to do their best as possible, because James made a good comment a couple weeks ago where he talked about, and it's been said, both of them have a sexy resume. Both of them do, but you have to play for the future. So I think they both need successful seasons this year to show that the future is bright.
I know I will not be pulling for Miami, nor will I be pulling for Texas A&M. I can give a flying double capital FU and then spell the rest of that there. I couldn't care less about what they do. I hope that game is rained out for 4 hours delay. I hope that they have it just turns into a complete crapshoot. And and I'm not cussing on the show because the views are great tonight, so we got to get the monetization going. But no, and if Florida State, I don't understand why FSU fans would care too much about pulling for the ACC, like Alfred said, since I thought all the FSU fans are tired of the ACC. So that's my take on it.
I think it was more of a Miami comment was where he was going with, because he singled
out. That was risky. That was one thing that we got to bring Alfred on the show and talk about that one. That one was.
I tell you, Jason, you brought this up 2 or 3 straight weeks, and I got to say, I don't think it matters.
I don't care about Miami. I don't care what and let's be honest. The rivalry means more to
James. Whatever you do to fix that, just keep doing it.
Right now, I'm not even on Bluetooth, so you're probably going to hear echo.
No, it's not an echo. It's like just static.
Guys, if you contribute to Micanopy 1851,
exactly,
you buy a decent equipment. He'll buy the kind of Logan equipment he's got there. So contribute to Micanopy 1851.
You would think I have those. It's at my cigar lounge. I just don't carry it with me. But we're not by 2023. We're going to finish the 2026 the new structure that they have in the ACC. I believe we'll honor that. It benefits us. There's good games on there. We can show what we're doing. I think the Big Ten is looking for brands that will help the TV deal. If anything, they went westward. They have the East Coast. The natural expansion is going down. So you'll get you'll get somebody from Florida. You may want to get 2 teams. You may get Miami. I really don't think our win and loss record, as much as the fact that of the 10 teams remaining that are independent, I think we're the number 3 biggest reach when it comes to average television appearances. So, and that's what matters with these contracts. I mean, they're not going to go scoop Vanderbilt from the SEC. They're going to go get the teams, the best of the rest. And I'm sorry, I mean, no offense to UCF, but UCF doesn't command the same presence on TV that we do, even if they have the quote-unquote Orlando market. You'll get that by having a FSU and or a Miami in there if you want to have that. So, I won't root for them. But the thing is, this new day and age, rivalries are obsolete. The rivalries became obsolete when coaches kept leaving rivals to go to coach somewhere else. I mean, you got Tim Brewster, as of recent, who's coached at Florida State and Florida. The only place he didn't go was Miami, I believe. You've got Randy Shannon on our roster, who literally has the only piece of apparel he doesn't have is FAU and USF. There is no honor. There is no loyalty when it comes to that. It's just to a bunch of us who in 20 years will all be dead or old, and nobody will really care about it. The only thing we'll care about is the check and these old stories. The new rivalries will be who you're playing, who the people who are good. So I mean, that's just kind of where it comes down to. So if Miami's stuck in the ACC, God bless. I would love nothing more than to be able to pick on them for being so rich that you can't buy yourself out. I don't really care for teams that have fake renderings and and for people who don't even understand how public works and projects work. Like, you can't just say I want to build a stadium and then the stadium poof appears. Like, you're dealing with bigger billionaires than a guy who's not even a real billionaire. He's a multimillionaire, but he's not. Braggadocio doesn't help. So at the end of the day, if Miami comes, it'll be dope. But if they don't, I don't care. I just want to get out of the ACC, and I would never root for a rival to win. And I'm with Logan. I hope they both lose.
Gosh, guys. Look, I get where you're both coming from. I understand it. I guess my position on it is this. Number one, I think the only way that our rivalry with Miami stays intact is if we both go to the Big Ten. Because if we go to the SEC, the natural rivalry with Florida will stick around because it becomes a conference game. It's no longer a contract game. Miami, we won't have a contract with. And if you're sitting there playing Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Florida, Auburn, you're not going to want to add a Miami to that. So I think that's why it has to. If we're going to play Miami every year, we have to go together to the Big Ten. Look, I don't want Miami to go 12-0. I'm not saying I'm going to root for Miami against Texas A&M. I'm not saying I'm not going to root for a sinkhole to swallow both teams whole at Kyle Field and take out both teams, like Logan said. I'm not saying I would object to that at all. I'm just saying, guys, the better off that Miami does, the sexier we both are this season, the more attractive we are to the Big Ten. I get what Mark is saying. I understand where Mark is coming from about it doesn't matter at this point. It is. Both of us have sexy resumes to sell, but there has to be something there for the future.
I just believe that the value of the institution, the academics, the endowment, then let's go to the sports, the football brand, like James said, the media markets involved, how many people love to watch Florida State / Miami on TV. All that is not going to be diminished by one bad football season. The recruiting footprint, I think, actually is going to play a role in Miami and Florida State's favor for the Big Ten because they love to go to Florida. They're losing football players in the Midwest. They're in Florida. They're in Texas. They're in California. And the Big Ten has everything in the world going for it. They got tons of money. They got great football programs. They got great facilities. They got great academics, but they don't have enough football players. So they got to go to South to get football players. And once they make that connection and their teams are playing at Florida State and Miami and wherever else in the South on a regular basis, I think that's attractive to the Big Ten to say, we've got this footprint in all four corners of the country. And now we've got a recruiting footprint in Florida, and we can get more Florida football players to go to anywhere in the Big Ten, in addition to Ohio State, because that's pretty much where the only premier players from Florida go in the Big Ten.
Wow. Nice plug for your Buckeyes there.
It's the truth.
Guys, is it time?
We're getting close to score predictions and such.
Is it time to make I think it's time to make our score predictions. I think it's time.
Is it hot takes or score predictions last? What are we doing?
Your call.
Well, traditionally we do the score predictions last, but maybe right, Jason's hot takes have taken precedent over. But since this is a team effort, we'll stay with the score predictions last.
Do hot takes real quick because you ruined it last week by giving it away for those who watched last week's episode with MarkRogersTV. The voice.
It was just so blatantly obvious.
I know. I never said some of them are fire, some of them are a little smoke. It's fine, but in the first year of the playoff system, Florida State was the representative for the ACC. I still think they should have been the number one seed because they were the only one undefeated, but that's a different issue. For the 6 seasons that followed, Clemson was the representative from the ACC. Last year was the first time the ACC did not have a representative in the college football playoff. For my final hot take, it's going to happen for a second time because for the second straight season, the ACC will not have a representative in the college football playoff. I think Clemson wins the ACC, as we said last week, but I think they come in with 2 losses in the regular season. I think they lose to NC State. I think they lose on the road at Notre Dame, and I don't think Clemson will make the college football playoff. So for a second straight season to the ACC, they will be just watching the playoff and not have a rooting interest. Logan cannot root for the Clemson Tigers or the NC State Wolfpack or his beloved Miami Hurricanes in the college football playoff this year.
I like it. I think Clemson's going to lose a few more. So
really?
I'm still not sold on DJ yet. Still not sold on him. I mean, if you almost lost that FSU team last year wasn't fantastic, and at home, I mean, still Clemson was going through stuff, but I don't understand kind of what's going on up there. You've got still a new offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. I don't think it's going to be a seamless process, even though they've got some guys that have been around the program, but I don't know. We'll see, but I wouldn't be shocked to see them not in the ACC playoff. I think there's going to be some surprise ones, maybe. I don't know if it's hot, though. I don't know if it's spicy. To end off the finale there, I don't know.
It's like the Sopranos finale. It was a great 7-year run, and then the finale was crap. That's pretty much what we do here. So it's like your Game of Thrones. Then we'll come back with House of the Dragons next
season. Oh, yes.
Like that'll be phenomenal.
Can we talk about that? Yeah.
No, we can talk about that afterwards. That'll be the overtime edition presented by Popeyes.
So, Jason, this is the only thing that we have to look forward to in the off season is that your hot takes are coming back in the off season.
Steamy hot takes.
Yeah.
Almost as steamy as being in the stands at an Oakland A's game. It'll be almost that steamy. Google that for those of you. You might not want to, Mark. Don't you might not.
Don't do that.
Don't do
Okay.
that. It's a TB14 Google right there.
Okay.
Guys, it's time.
Time for some score predictions.
It's time for some score
Here we
predictions.
go.
I think we default to my man crush myself, the man who single-handedly, literally helped us beat Miami in 2005.
Oh, man.
The best fullback, I'll argue the best fullback in Florida State football history, James Coleman. Who you gonna put ahead of you, Pooh Bear?
Nah, hell no. I put two. Oh, yeah, I'm better than Pooh Bear now. I ain't gonna. Guy rested dead.
God rest his soul.
Yeah, I love Pooh Bear, but bar none, William Floyd, best fullback ever.
I consider him more that tailback. I wouldn't consider him
fair.
fullback position.
But I would give him Dane Williams. Touchdown was a touchdown. Had the touchdown record. I'm top 5, and that's from the old man's voice. So that's what that means. I don't think I'm top 5 either, but the old man said it, so that means something. But you go on score prediction. You said
Yes.
Florida State 55, Duquesne 14. That would make me satisfied. That would give Mike Norvell a couple extra good articles. If that thing is a dogfight, bless. But right now, I'm extremely pleased with what I'm seeing, and I'm hopeful. But I think they got to learn. Mark, we were talking about what you look for. It's really only one thing to look for in this kind of game. It could be less. Like if it's like 48-0, I'll be cool with that. But what I want to see is the will taken out of the team. We've yet to see them get up on somebody and literally just score that last point that just takes the wind out of them. Mm-hmm. Even when they jumped on North Carolina during the COVID year, and even this past year, you jump on them, and then you let them come back. All you need is a field goal. You need just one more score, and they're done. They're going to quit. We just haven't got to that point. So this is where you really work on the killer mentality. So that's my goal.
Yeah, put them down and annihilate them early. You got to hope that's a halftime mark. That's how it should be. I'm going to go 10 less points than you, James. I'm going to go Florida State 45, and I'm going to go Duquesne. I'm between 14 and 17. I just don't think Florida State's defense is going to let them score much. So I'm going to go 13 for Duquesne. I'm going to go 13 for Duquesne. I think Florida
15 and a half there.
Hey, you said between 14 and 17. So and
then I dropped it down to 13.
Okay.
I just remembered Fabian Levin and Robert Cooper are still on this team, and Jared Verse is gonna. This is everybody's first glance at Jared Verse on Saturday, which I've been talking about since the spring very highly. This defense is going to be something that FSU fans, I hope, will be very excited for after Saturday. But like James said, this game needs to be over mid-second quarter. Florida State's offense should be able to put on some points, and I'm excited to see this passing attack. That's where you want to start building that chemistry, so that's ready for next Sunday. There's a lot of preparation and understanding your assignments this upcoming Saturday to be prepared for next Sunday. And also, number one out of all of this on Saturday is to stay healthy. Everybody needs to come out of this healthy, and you hope to get out a lot of your starters and a win by doing that. It starts at halftime and getting Jordan Travis out of that game and being able to see a little bit of Tate Rodemaker and AJ Duffy inside Doak. So I'm going 45. I'm going 45-13 Florida State on Saturday, and I think that's going to make it to be where we'll have a good time Saturday night in Tallahassee.
Shout out to James, the little man on camera right there. Shout out to little big game.
You want to say go nose? Say go nose.
There we go. You can host next week instead of Logan. You can host next week instead of Logan. All right. So for mine, real quick, I do have a little props. I'm all about the drama here with MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. So I have my yarmulke for my bar mitzvah. Yes, it's a Florida State yarmulke that you wear on your head, and you have, this is the tallis that you wear around, and you get one of these when you've had your bar mitzvah. You're supposed to wear it to temple afterwards, and yes, it's garnet and gold. Yes, my bar mitzvah theme was Florida State. So yes, that's how crazy the obsession was. So let me just put this on real quick here. Get this going here, right there. Let me throw the yarmulke on real quick. So if you guys want to pray along, go ahead. You can pray with me here on this one. If you're not a believer, go ahead. But so just take. Hey God, sorry, yarmulke almost fell off there. Hey God, it's me, Jason. We don't talk all that much of late, but if you could avoid the embarrassment of my alma mater losing to an FCS team again for a second straight season, that would be really great because it's been a really difficult year having to deal with that loss to Jackson State. So if you could help us out here on that one, if you could maybe, help Florida State win 38-10, that would be phenomenal. I like what James said. I think, Florida State is going to take the well out early. I think they'll pump the brakes to save for possible injury against LSU. But God, if you could help out on that one, that'd be great. I think Florida State, all joking, all kidding aside, I think Florida State is going to give their fans a lot of confidence heading into the LSU game. I think there will still be a few questions that need to be answered. I do like the extra day. Yes, divine intervention will help Florida State on this one. So, dear God, help us out here on this one.
I am going to remind everyone that you not only get my picks on Patreon, search Mark Rogers TV, sign up right there. You get the Discord link, of course, but you get now how Jason can diss the Discord that we have on Patreon, but he still is part of the, somewhat part of the Discord, Jason, as you are providing your predictions for our 12-pack every week on Patreon. So you can get Jason's picks, you get my picks on Patreon.
It's divine intervention, pretty much. It's the Talus right here.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
My bar mitzvah was the day Tupac got shot, so that's why I'll always remember my bar mitzvah day. So, if I hadn't been becoming a man that day, I would have been able to save Tupac in Las Vegas. But it's okay. Overrated rapper.
You need to save that for next Sunday. Save that for next. I would have prayed for the next Sunday one.
So now James and I will be in New Orleans for the Florida State LSU game. Logan, will you be making your way out to New Orleans for that game?
Be there Friday. Be there next Friday all the way to Monday. So
I'll be there Saturday and fly out Monday. So there we go. So I'm thinking I'll be sober, obviously, because Sunday will be 21 months in recovery for me, God willing. But I would like to get a drunk Logan after the LSU game. Let's talk about this next week, guys. Folks, if you join the Discord here, Logan, what's the number of people who have to join the Discord to get you to do a drunk postgame show after the Florida State?
One.
So somebody, dear God, somebody join the Discord so that we can get drunk Logan after the LSU game.
Get one. I'll just have James come in. I think he's already in, but have him come in.
Drunk James, drunk Logan. Let's get this.
He'll probably see me drunk. We'll see both one another. Now you got to watch out for James, man. I'm going up to the press box, and sometimes there's shots that are after shots, and it's like, and there's good food around you, and you're like, man, do I really want to go see this team play last year? But we're going into a new season. So I'm excited to see this team. Like James said, this season should, from what we've seen so far, and it's hard for us that cover it. We see the things in practice. We see the consistency that Mike Norvell has been preaching. Now I got to see it against a different jersey. And I think there is some excitement, but now I think media has been kind of scared to go too far into it, but we'll see.
We honor all the super chats, including our buddy DeAndre, Clemson fan. We will disclaim it with that. BGPO Football Funk, that's DeAndre, the Clemson fan. Already making a prediction on the following game with 20-14 LSU.
Well, he's coming out rolling off the top. Shout out the $1.99 prediction there. But
there it is. And my season prediction record for Florida State is posted here. So give it a look, everyone. Tell me what you think.
That's a sales pitch right there. That was a solid.
There it is. All right. Big Game James, let us know where to find you. What you got going on?
At Big Game James _36 on Twitter, IG. Fifth quarter college football is that. I mean, I guess technically we're OGs in the Discord game. We have one that's pretty cool. Every now and then I don't really market it as much because I don't like message boards. So it's a tough business. But we have a good website, great writers, a lot of guys who get their start. Shout out to Norvell Central. He's been doing a lot of stuff. Shout out to Chris with Sporadic. They've been doing heavy Florida State writing for us. And Mikinoki 1851. We have a free tailgate in Lot 8, Silver Chief Lot. You'll see a big old FSU inflatable head that will kind of designate where we'll be at. There's free beverages and some free food while we have it, but meet a lot of the Florida State athletes who have signed up for us. There will be no football players. They have a game, but we'll have softball, basketball, baseball, soccer, a lot of the kids that we've signed, and just kind of learn what we got going on. We got some big news. We have created our first HBCU, me and my business partner. We have two HBCU collective, Strike Force, Florida A&M, and the Hale Wildcat Collective for Bethune-Cookman University. And we've got some projects coming out. So there'll be some big announcements for us with that. But the NIL landscape market is very interesting. It's getting better, but, a lot of times, like, these kids need representation if they're going to be in it, and we're trying to help guys navigate it. So there's a lot of suckers out here, but it's the same thing with coaches. So there's good coaches and there's bad coaches. But Florida State does it right. So that's kind of all I got.
Logan, sell your Discord real quick. Just get it over with.
Oh my goodness! Both join both. Not Jason's because he doesn't have one, but join all three Discords in here. But yeah, we're getting ready for the season. We'll have live game day chats going on from whatever week 0 games are going on. But throughout the season, we'll have all that going on. If you're a House of Dragons fan, we've got a live feed of that going on in there too, of chats going on during it. So it's just all over the place in Discord right now. But we'll be going live tonight at 8, covering the game and just less than an hour now, and talking about the depth chart and yada yada yada, and give score predictions on there. We did record predictions last week, but nothing too crazy, but full send, baby. We'll be there with giving you guys full coverage. Me, Maddox, and Dustin Delu inside the press box on Saturday. So we have some good coverage there, and it'll be a little bit back to normal with all the COVID stuff being gone now. So be back in our groove, full speed ahead. It's time.
I may not have a Discord, but next week, starting next Monday on NBCMiami.com, we will have all your previews. We'll be previewing Miami. We'll preview FIU. We'll preview Florida State. We'll preview Florida. We'll preview UCF. We'll even preview FAU and USF. I don't know why we're doing USF, but we'll preview them anyway. Let's go for it.
We've got our Discord, talk college football all the time, 24/7, 365 at the Voice of College Football. We're growing. We got about 70 folks on there, so let's build it up some more. You'll love it. Plus my picks, plus Jason's picks. Are you kidding me? And 1 week from now, we'll be gearing up for our 24-hour live stream marathon for a second consecutive year, 24 consecutive hours on live.
Have fun with that.
It'll be a long one.
And I cheated last year. I only did 20 consecutive hours. No, I didn't do 20 consecutive hours. I did 20 hours out of the 24. I had a couple naps in there.
Nice.
All
Wait,
right.
hit the like button. Hit the line. We've had over 100 in here. There should be close to 100 likes in here. Everybody in the chat is saying that there should be 100 likes, but we're not there yet. We're at 69. One of those numbers where it really brings back flashbacks. But hit those 100. Hit those likes right now.
If you hit 100 likes, I'll join Logan's Discord.
Oh yeah, if it gets to 100 likes, you'll finally get in the Discord. Then Jason will stop complaining.
Some folks are
also get
in a hurry.
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
That's gonna have to happen in like 30 seconds. All right, James, we appreciate you being here, man. Logan,
yep,
you're tremendous. Yes. No game day.
Appreciate y'all.
Jason, NBC6. We've done this 173 times. We keep going, but we got football to talk about next week. So be here next Wednesday at 6.
Thank God.